Sree Karuna, thank you so much for joining us at the Chennai Storytelling Festival 2022. Please introduce yourself fully, tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
I'm Sree Karuna from the city of Visakhapatnam, which is a little bit north to Chennai. It's also on the Bay of Bengal and the beautiful coast. I'm pursuing right now my MSc Psychology after a lot of stints in corporate and media education and all. I stumbled, I think, approximately 2 years back into the world of storytelling, and I think it spans the pandemic actually. I tell stories under the name Chandamama Katha in the moonlight of stories. Chandamama means moon in Indian languages. And I hold Telugu storytelling sessions for all the major festivals and
I just want
stories for adults around every full moon, which I started recently in the moonlight. I also tell stories in schools in Visakhapatnam and the library and online sessions and some workshops during the summer. And now, without much ado, I'll go. Okay, I forgot to wish everyone good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good time to whoever has joined from different time zones across the world. Now into my story. It was the month of February in the year 2020. Surabhi was deeply engrossed in deciphering the logic of the code, and she was peering into the laptop. And suddenly, Vihan came running, but he stopped near the door. Surabhi heard his footsteps and looked up. Yes, Vihan, what do you want? Mama, it's okay. I'm not in meeting. Come over, she called him. And she saw, oh, these are plants, Vihan, and every plant has a particular kind of soil and atmosphere where it grows robustly. And if that plant is uprooted from that place and planted elsewhere, it will not grow so. She cleared his doubt. Vihan said, thank you, Ma, and ran out of the room. After she cleared the doubt, Surabhi could not concentrate on her work. She shut down the laptop and lied back, thinking. That night, again, Vihan came to her for the bedtime story. She picked up the Aesop's Fables book because it was Vihan's favorite book. And coincidentally, that day she read out to him the story of Town Mouse and Country Mouse. And when she came to the end of the story and was reading to him, the country mouse was not happy in the town. In spite of the exotic food that was available, it wanted its freedom. It wanted to go around in the fields and it wanted to be there where it was from. Again, there was some disturbance in her. She put Vihan to sleep. She tiptoed out of the room and she went into the doorway of another room and she opened the door without making any noise. And she saw her grandmother sleeping there. She looked peaceful in her sleep, but shivered slightly. Surabhi reduced the speed of the fan and covered the quilt till the neck and walked out of the room. That night she could not sleep. She went back into her childhood memories. She remembered about her grandmother and grandfather, all that she saw in her summer holidays whenever she went there to the village. All that she heard from her own father about his childhood. And this is the story of Surabhi's grandmother and grandfather. Surabhi's grandmother's name was Annapurna. She was lovingly called by everybody Annapurnamma. And Annapurna means actually somebody who feeds everybody, and that name aptly fit her grandmother. And Annapurnamma's husband's name, Surabhi's grandfather's name, was Sitaramaya. They were a loving couple. They argued a lot, but they loved each other immensely. If he bought the best of the fruit, her favorite fruit, or some book for her to read, she made his favorite dishes. And physically they were very opposite. Sitaramaya was very frail and slender frame, whereas Annapurnamma looked majestic and robust. But still they were made for each other at heart. Annapurnamma's day started early in the morning, much before Brahma Muhurtam. I don't know whether she woke up at 3:30, but by 4, everything was clean and her puja lamp was lit. After she did her puja, she used to come out and the dawn used to break and the servant used to get the milk from their cow shed. And then she used to make the filter coffee, and with that aroma, Sitaramaya used to walk into the kitchen and she used to give him coffee. And within no while, she would serve the traditional breakfast, either upma or idli or something. After having the breakfast, Sitaramaya would go to the fields to have a stroll and look at his fields and how they are growing. Meanwhile, Annapurnama made the lunch, which they had by 10 a.m. Because breakfast was around 7, 10, 10:30, they finished their lunch. And after that, Sitaramaya would read out to her everything, all the interesting news from the newspaper. And she used to sit and listen to him. They used to discuss about their children. They had 3 sons. The elder son was an Ayurvedic doctor, the middle son was an engineer, and the younger son was a lecturer, a professor in the college. They used to discuss about their grandchildren, and they used to have a nap in the afternoon. As soon as Sitaramaya got up from his nap, she used to give him his tea and some snacks, and he used to head towards the banyan tree. Under the banyan tree was a platform where all his aged people used to get together and discuss everything from politics to what is happening in the village and everything. Meanwhile, Annapurnamma had a lot of chores. Everything was sustainable. She tended to her vegetable garden, and she prepared everything, lots of pickles and papads, and all the neighboring ladies came over to help. If there was any wedding, any function, anything in the neighboring ladies in that little quaint lane, everybody looked up to her. She was the big support for all of them, whether it was financial support, emotional support, or any kind of support. And she felt so important. And by the time Sitaramaya came, the evening meal was ready. And after having an early meal around 6, 6:30, they used to sit and discuss scriptures. And once the TV came, they used to watch something on the TV and go to bed early. They used to look forward with so much this one for the children to come in the holidays. If it was a summer holidays, big baskets of mangoes were brought. If it was a Dashera holidays, big baskets of custard apple were bought, and they used to look forward to their grandchildren. And as days and years passed by, Annapurnama was diagnosed with breast cancer. But she didn't lose hope. She had a mastectomy. Her right breast was removed, but she gained back her health, and doctor said she can live a healthy life. All her sons and daughters-in-law and grandchildren heaved a sigh of relief. Days passed by like this, and whenever Surabhi asked her grandmother, "How can you both, you're so old, live here? You should come and stay with dad or something." They used to reply, "As long as our legs and hands are fine, we are good here. When we can't move around, then anyways we have to come and we need the support." And when things were happening like this, in 2012, Sitaramaya's health deteriorated and he was having some urinary problem, and one fine day, in the December month of 2012, Sitaramaya passed away. When Sitaramaya passed away, all the 3 sons who were now residing in Hyderabad thought she can't stay alone in the village, and she was brought to Hyderabad. And that house was left like that, half of it, the luggage or everything was kept in a couple of rooms. The other rooms were given out to somebody who was in need. Annapurnamma was initially happy to be amidst daughters-in-law and grandchildren coming and going, and great-grandchildren also were there. And she spent her days reading the scriptures, watching religious discourses on the TV, and making that cotton wicks for the lamps. Days were passing by, but there was no sparkle in her eyes. All the daughters-in-law respected her a lot. All the sons cared for her a lot. They used to ask her, "Do you have the medicine? Should I get for you medicines? Are you taking your medicines on time?" Everything was fine, but something was missing. And then Surabhi realized, now I should get some sleep. She went back to sleep after remembering all this, and she got up in the morning, much before her usual time again. She went into her grandmother's room. By that time, her Nanamma, that's what she called her grandmother, Annapurnamma, was up. She was reading the Ramayana. She asked, "Nanamma, did you sleep well in the night?" Nanamma nodded her head and asked, "Are you going for a walk with your dad?" Surabhi always went to walk with her dad whenever she was in Hyderabad, and her dad came out of his bedroom. They both went for a walk. Surabhi was a good conversationalist, and she shared everything with her dad because She looked up to her dad as his role model, as her role model, and she discussed everything under the sun: office issues, Vihan's doubts, growing up Vihan in different times, sustainability. There is not, and all the books that she read, excerpts from them. And that day she was very silent. Her dad asked her, "What is wrong with you, Surabhi? Why are you so silent today?" "Dad, I think Nanamma is not happy." "Why? Did she tell you anything? Did she complain to you?" "Nanamma, and complaining?" "No, Dad." "Did you look into her eyes deeply? Do you see the same sparkle that she had in the village earlier? Whenever I used to go in the summer holidays, we all used to be there. There used to be a twinkle, and she used to be always humming some bhajan, and she had energy in her spring in her step, and she is not the same anymore. I know she's growing old. It's not just about growing old, Dad. Nanamma is not happy. I know Amma is taking care of her. And you, your elder brother, his wife, your younger brother, his wife, all of you respect and we all take care of her. But she is not feeling important. She is not feeling wanted. When she tries to go into the kitchen to help, Amma says, "You sit, I'll serve you." The other day, she was trying to put oil in the lamps and she spilled because her hand was trembling. And Amma is also above 60. And a little bit louder voice, she said, "I could do it myself. Who asked you to put this oil? Now you made my work double." And I could see the expression in Nanama's face. Small incidents like this, Dad. And I just want to somehow bring back the happiness for Nanama. "So what do you plan to do, Surabhi?" her dad asked. "I want to take Nanama and go back to the ancestral home." "You have project deadline. There won't be any Wi-Fi," he said. "That's okay, Dad. I'll take a dongle. I'll manage the Wi-Fi." And when she came back home, Vihan was watching cartoons, and her Nanama was waiting for her turn to watch the religious discourse on the TV. She gently took the remote from Vihan and changed the channel. And afterwards, she told her Nanama, "Nanama, we are going to village, to the home." "But somebody else is there in the home, and how will we go?" And "You don't worry about that. Just give me 2, 3 weeks time. I'll make all the arrangements," Surabhi said. She called up her friends who were in the hometown. She got the house cleaned. And in the month of March, she took her Nanama and Vihan and she went to the ancestral home. When they just got down from the lane, by that time, the whole community came to know Annapurnama is coming. And all the people in the community, they just came. "How are you? How is your health?" Somebody brought curd, somebody brought homegrown vegetables, and somebody said, "I'm sending you the breakfast." And seeing them and they all surrounding her, the light came back into Annapurnama's face. And they entered into the home. And Annapurnama, she went to each tree, the guava tree that she planted, which is fully grown now. She went to the chiku tree. She went to uh, the hybrid of orange and lemon that she grafted. She went into the well and peeped into the well to see if the water was sparkling. And Surabhi was just looking at her Nanama's face, the joy in her face. And after a couple of days, the lockdown was announced. Her dad called her, "Do you want me to arrange some vehicle so that you just can come immediately?" "No, Dad, it's okay. Whenever the lockdown opens, we'll come back. Let us stay here for some time," Surabhi said. And how the lockdown passed, even Surabhi didn't realize. Because day by day, she saw the twinkle and sparkle in her Nanama's face returning back. And Vihan, who always grew up in the apartments, was so happy to hop around in the big courtyard and climb up on the trees and jump from there. And Surabhi, seeing the happiness in her Nanama's face, sighed. "This is what a place called home does. It just brings back health," she sighed. And she called her dad, saying, "Nanama is the old Nanama again, Dad. She's the same energetic Nanama I knew when I was a child. And I'm so happy for her." Thank you.
Thank you very much. The wonderful story. There were a lot of twists and turns, but so finally, what do you connect with, especially in the story? What is the biggest part of the story for you?
The biggest part of the story for me is like many of the parents, children think that parents are alone and they ask the parents to come and stay with them, but they cannot recreate the kind of atmosphere, or they cannot give that importance that the parents feel in their own place. They cannot create that atmosphere. And when that atmosphere, the feeling of importance is missed in the elders, the health suffers. In this, most of the story, this is the original story that I wrote. And Sita Ramaya and Annapurnama are the names of my own grandmother and grandfather. But my grandmother passed away in 2018, in the month of January, after 6 years after my grandfather passed away. And the rest of the Surabhi and Vihan I added as a fiction. And I wish I was a Surabhi and I could have taken her back to our ancestral home. To return back
Anybody?
the happiness.
Yeah, Renu.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Sree, that was a beautiful, touching story. I could see elements of Sree herself in that story. I think you have that kind of a connection probably with your grandmother. And that whole beauty of, how she's been noticing how her grandmother, how beautifully you connected those two stories. One is about the country mouse and the city mouse, and also about the plant not, being uprooted from its place and then being planted somewhere else. Obviously, it's not going to grow. So I think that those two little stories you brought in connected beautifully with this story, because this poor lady has been taken away from the village, which is her home. She's brought to the city, and now she has nothing to do. And I think old people really want to have something to do. They have lived their entire lives working with their hands, and I think that is what makes them who they are. And when you take that away from them, it's literally like taking that sparkle out of their eyes. And I think that is something you really brought out beautifully in your story, in your narration, in your expressions and your emotions. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Renu.
Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you for being there and giving me the feedback. Thank you so much.
Okay, there's some wonderful comments in the chat section, but I'm afraid that we have to stop this segment. But Sree, I want to thank you very much. It's a wonderful story, and interesting that it's a combination of real life experience and your imagination. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And CSF is giving us not only the opportunities, but wonderful workshops for us to grow and learn. And we're all indebted to you for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.